Am I the asshole? For telling my girlfriend that our hypothetical kids won't be forced to go to church? A bit of background: my girlfriend F21 and me M24 have been together for over a year. She comes from a very religious household, church every Sunday, attending every church function, watching other parishioners' kids like family, nightly prayer and Bible readings, the works, whereas I did not, but harbor no hate to those that do worship. Recently the topic of our hypothetical kids being forced to go to church if her parents watch them, came up. I told her I don't want her parents forcing my kids to go if they don't want to. She's said if they're under my parents' roof, they follow my parents' rules, which is fine to an extent. But I draw the line at forcing my kids to attend church. If my kids want to, that's one thing, I'll encourage it. But just like I wouldn't force them to show affection to family members or eat food they don't like, obviously after they try it I won't force religion on them. I said I'd compromise for holidays like Easter or Christmas. Now my girlfriend won't talk to me. TLDR. My girlfriend is mad at me for not letting my kids be forced to go to church. Cheers, you have found a very clear deal breaker for this relationship. Do not get kids with this woman. You now know very clearly what to expect if you do. Don't have children with this woman, and don't do it under her parents' roof. Nah, as I think this a point of compatibility. Not the asshole. Also, your justification of disrespecting her parents' wishes is ridiculous. Her parents aren't raising your theoretical child. They can have opinions but don't need to be actioned on. Religious folk love to indoctrinate children young, and forced church time is how they manage it. If you don't want your children to be bots, then don't impregnate a religious girl. It seems simple enough how to avoid this outcome. I don't want to do that. Am I the asshole? Thing where we immediately leap to the worst case scenario, i.e., she's doing that thing where she pretends to be less religious than she really ought to marry you and then brings you to God, run away. But her knee-jerk reaction is telling you something important: she is either more religious than you thought, or she's not really questioned anything about the way she was raised and is under the impression her family's way is the way, and her silent treatment is telling you something else. That's even more important: she's got the emotional maturity of a 4-year-old. Not the asshole. Well, frankly, I'll say this: I suggest you both go find other mates. Your girlfriend wants to follow the parents' church. If you don't agree with it, in time that is going to cause a rift where you end up divorcing anyway. Not the asshole. You are not compatible enough to have children together. Check to see if this came up because she's already pregnant, and break up. Nah. But this is the point of dating. To determine what your boundaries are and if the person you are dating is compatible. If this is your hill to die and hers also from the other side, then you are not compatible. Better to find out now than after you marry and have kids. Nah. You're not religious, she is. It's best you sort this kind of thing out before you have kids. You may not be able to compromise on this one though. Not the asshole, but you two are absolutely not compatible. This may be the first time religion has come between you, but it certainly won't be the last, especially if you plan to have kids. Have you talked about whether your kids will be baptized? Surely she'll want to get married in a church. Make sure you read the service her minister-priest plans to perform if you choose to get married. Honestly, religion is one of those things that will likely repeatedly come up and be a problem as your relationship progresses. Not the asshole. You needed to be clear on this sort of thing before you get more serious. If it's a deal breaker to either, then it's a deal breaker for both. It would cause catastrophic issues if unaddressed. It's not a question of if they're under her parents' roof, they follow her parents' rules. It's the practical question: if you want grandma and grandpa to babysit, you cannot tell grandma and grandpa that they cannot live their normal lives. If you care enough that they not go to church, you cannot let grandma and grandpa babysit. You cannot expect them to change the normal way they organize their lives in order to do you the favor of caring for your kids. The solution is not this argument, It's just don't leave them with grandma and grandpa at any time when they would go to church. You're the asshole for not realizing this. Don't get married. Nata, but you guys are seriously incompatible. Do not have a family with someone whose values and respect for boundaries differ so much from your own. It's not that interfaith relationships can't work, but you have to be on the same page, which the two of you aren't. Not the asshole, and you should maybe reconsider dating someone who wants to force their religion on their kids if you don't want to. Not the asshole. Hypothetically, make sure the kids aren't at her parents' house on Sundays and avoid having an issue. Not the asshole, you need to end this before you have kids with this person. There's no compromise possible. Run. How about this? Don't ask her parents to watch them on a day or night they attend church. Better to get this all worked out before the arrival of said hypothetical kids. Not the asshole. Your kids should not be forced to go to hate group meetings. Not the asshole. But be thankful this came about from hypotheticals and not an actual pregnancy. It looks like you guys will have to do some soul searching to see if you are compatible long term, because it sounds like you might not be. Not the asshole. I used to have conversations like this too when I was your age. I used to think I could make it work with a partner that had vastly different values from my own as well. I was wrong. Ask her what she and or her parents will do when one of your hypothetical children turns out to be gay. I asked that question. And that's how I realized we had no future together. Not the asshole. Easy answer, don't have kids with her. Why in the world would they be under her parents' roof? Please tell me you aren't planning to live with them. Not the asshole, but if you both had children and you need her parents to babysit and it was a time they go to church, then I'm sorry, you're the asshole if you expect them to stay home because your kids say no. Just because a family was raised to be heavily involved in church doesn't always mean they are forced against their will. There is a massive difference in being forced to go to church and having religion beat into you versus having to go somewhere because that's where the adults are, and you can't stay home by yourself. LMFAO, another relationship showing its true colors due to a hypothetical child. Relationships are all about compromising. If y'all can't sit down and come to a mutual conclusion on topics, then cut y'all's losses and move on from each other. Throwing a child into that mix will really make life harder. The real hypothetical question that needs to be discussed is, what if one of you two can't produce a child? You probably shouldn't be involved with someone religious. I don't see how a middle ground can be made here. Not the asshole, but you guys aren't compatible. Nata. The fact that she doesn't like church either but is going to make her kids go to appease her parents is the weirdest part for me. Unhealthy lack of agency boundaries. Then don't expect her parents to watch the hypothetical kids all weekend. Assume that Sunday mornings or whenever their services are our church time. If the kids are cool with going to church, fine, they can stay the whole weekend. Otherwise, you pick them up beforehand. What's not okay is if you expect one or both of the parents to stay home with your kids, missing their religious devotions. If your kids are being babysat on a Sunday morning, you expect your in-laws not to go to church? I think that you're being unreasonable there. You can talk to your kids and tell them you don't believe for X reasons, but their grandparents believe, and to give them respect, but they can make their own decisions regarding religion. But your best bet is don't have your in-laws watch the kids on Sunday mornings. Not the asshole. And it's very wise to have this discussion now. And if her parents wish to have a relationship with your hypothetical future kids, it's your rules they have to accept. And if you and GF tell them that they have to accept no church for the kids if they wish to babysit, well then that's how it has to be. Not the asshole, and you should think more closely about the logic of your kids only following her parents' rules when they're watching them. That could very quickly cause problems, either with the parents enforcing something that you aren't in favor of, or vice versa, them not enforcing rules that you have, and potentially punishments you have given when they go to their grandparents.